Hello and welcome to Warframe. My name's Todd, also known as MageMech, and this is of course Warframe. Last time we left off completing parts of the Limbo Theorem and moving forward with opening up another junction. This time around we will go grab the Limbo part that we created last time and move forward.
Just as I suspected, another theorem. Limbo's formula for inverting the entropic mass of void quantums is downright naughty. I want more. Operator, please hurry. This story is getting quite good.
So, we'll move forward. We'll switch it over to public. I'm not sure why I was solo there for a second. Do need to continue gathering truth fragments, or proof fragments, not truth fragments. I'm pretty sure we only need 3. Let me double check to make sure. It is, oh, it's under Warframe. Okay, yes, we still just need 3, same as all the other parts. We'll go grab those lickety-splits and hopefully be on our way to opening the Jupiter Junction before you know it. So going back into Arcwing, I've explained a lot about it. With some of the new Fortuna updates with the Prophet Taker and Mesa Prime and all of the events that happened around that, it's just a basic bit of advice to anyone who's new to the game. Do take your time to level up your Arcwing stuff if you want to get to the end game very quickly. Having a fully leveled Arcwing weapons, and the like will greatly benefit you. I haven't done any of that, so we're going to watch me bumble through all of this.
Fragments bouncing around this limbo frequency, these radio towers will pick them up.
Whoa. My sensitivity seems to be really high here. Hold on one moment. Is that because of... I don't think it's because of my mouse.
We are now in control of this tower.
I think it might just be because of Arcwing, which Arcwing's just controls are not optimized in any way, shape, or form. Even with our basic Arcwing weapons, we should be able to handle this mission quite handily, as we did last time. Thankfully there's no recoil on our Arcwing weapons. Doing these Arcwing interception missions I'm not a big fan of course, because I just don't like interceptions in general. However, I'd say that these Arcwing interception missions are easier overall than any of the other interception missions. Oh, I might have to fix this. Because of that little indicator that you just saw there a moment ago. When an enemy is assaulting a tower, it's very easy to tell because of an orange-ish line that will connect the enemy and the tower that they're assaulting. So it's relatively easy to determine when a tower is getting assaulted. Plus, the icons on the top left of the screen will flash if the tower is being assaulted, so the A, B, C, and D, of course. If those are flashing, that means an enemy is assaulting the tower, and you do need to go help it out. Typically, when you're just running solo, the enemies will go specifically for the towers that you are near, or the first tower that you claimed. So C is the most likely one to get assaulted at this time, and it is. Okay, we're gonna go try and save it here. So that line right there, that orange line, was connecting that enemy. That was the enemy that was attempting to capture the tower. The other enemies, while also good to get rid of, are not as critical as those enemies, of course. Though, as I've learned, there is a merit to killing the enemies after they capture a tower, because it apparently gets you more points, which can get you better rewards in certain types of interception missions. But monitoring that sort of thing isn't as easy as it would sound. It requires, with a good team, a lot of coordination. Oh, crannies. Let me see if I can't change my settings here. This sensitivity is really bad. It hasn't changed at all, though. That's weird. It must just be the Arcwing that's so janky. It feels really bad, though. Probably doesn't look as bad as it feels, but man, I really don't like this at all. I just move my mouse just a tiny little amount and I go spinning in the opposite direction. Oh. try and kill some of these guys. Come on. The Extremis was not the best choice, I suppose, for an enemy to try and take on, but if we can get any of them down, get another proof fragment, well, we got an Arcwing mod there. Not a horrible reward, but we'll get a lot of those if you're doing Arcwing missions. Really just need to kill these enemies.
They captured our tower.
Oh, I got D when I wasn't paying attention. If we want to go capture to get more points, but I think we're going to be just fine even without it. I'm really just hoping that one of these enemies will drop a proof fragment real fast. Yes, that one did, I think.
Scan complete. Now we must
Awesome.
clean up. Kill them all.
I think this is the last, if I'm not mistaken, the last set of proof fragments we need. Though I'm not 100% positive of that. And my little Imperator here does not do a lot of damage, does it? If you've been using some of the later game Arcwing weapons, you can definitely tell that this thing is
But if you would like, we can
not
attempt
amazing.
another scan.
Need a lot of mods to make this thing remotely good. We'll extract because I think we've got enough fragments.
Good work today. Not only have we decoded the enemy transmissions, we have also disrupted
That went better
their
than
communications.
previously, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Then again, they don't really try and throw too much at you for these Arcwing missions, thankfully. The excavation mission, though, will not be the same. We won't be as lucky. Alright, let's craft the chassis theorem. A minute to get to that. Is there anything else I needed to talk about? No, I don't really think so. There were no major updates in between now and the previous video. There might have been some hotfixes that I didn't know about. Oh, I guess I could talk about that. Warframe, of course, was just recently released on the Nintendo Switch. So if you have a Nintendo Switch and like to play Warframe on the PC, you can migrate your account from PC straight into the Switch for no cost at all. And that effectively gives you all the benefits that you had when you were on your PC, on your Switch. So make sure you do that before January 15th. Otherwise, you're going to have to start a brand new account on the Switch, and that'll be a pain in the butt. What else? Don't really think there's anything else. No major weapon updates, nothing else, and I really haven't gotten any upgrades that I can really talk about, so just waiting for this timer here. Okay.
To the story. My word, he is a magician of logic. Just when I think his diffraction principle is full of dangling ratios, he expresses his dynamic constant in pure numbers. I never saw it coming.
Good old math. It sure is funny, isn't it? I'm not really sure what kind of characteristics they were trying to go for with this quest. Of course, if you know the Limbo Warframe, he's very stylized as a magician, I suppose you could say. In the way his look is, and also his kit is very similar to something of that nature. But the jokes that they tried to go for, I don't really know if they really hit home very well.
We're here in search of lost artifacts and items buried deep below the surface. The scanner has picked up a target. Go
Maybe
to
I'm
the
just
dig
not
site.
enough of a math nerd to actually make a heads or tails of it. But that's just how it goes sometimes. Oh boy. These Corpus take a good number of hits to take down.
Excavator is ready to go. Keep it powered and protected from enemy fire.
I just also realized we're fighting the Corpus now and not the Grenier, which we might actually be able to keep some extractors alive if we're lucky. That's only if we are
The
lucky.
excavator has lost power. Find another cell.
Our excavators, of course, still don't have a massive amount of life, and these Detron crewmen are just a nightmare for anything like this sort of mission. Let's stomp a little bit and try and keep this thing alive for a little bit longer. Get another power cell here. Thankfully, the power carriers of the Corpus are not anywhere near as damaging as those of the Grenier, So I think we might have better luck here. And they also kind of die easier thanks to the fact that they don't have armor. In later parts of Warframe, you'll recognize that armor is most certainly the worst thing to run across in enemies. And Corpus enemies do have armor later on, at least some of them do. Armor is just overall the killer of any amount of damage you can do.
Protect the remaining dig sites.
Yeah, we kept that one alive for a okay amount of time. I would have preferred to have kept it alive for a little bit longer, but didn't really have enough energy to keep stomping, so we'll just have to go with what we've got. Back onto the armor thing, of course, there's two types of armor, and both of them do effectively the same thing, but they're countered in different ways. One with radiation damage, the other with corrosive. However, corrosive tends to be the more general of the two, which is pretty much why everybody runs corrosive damage on their weapons, because of the fact that armor is countered by corrosive. And armor truly is just the bane of your existence as you level up in Warframe and get better. If you can counter armor, pretty much shields and other mechanics such as health and things of that nature are not usually that much of a problem. Shields tend to not scale very good at higher levels, meaning that they're very easy to destroy. And health is just overall very easy to burn through. So, when it comes down to it, just those enemies with the yellow health bars, of course, are the ones that you really have to be powering into and using all of your abilities for. Alright, well, let's pop that in there. I don't think we're going to be able to keep it alive much longer than that. We are starting to get some elite crewmen. Elite crewmen aren't super damaging, but they are more damaging than normal ones. The Detrons, actually, I think, are probably more damaging than the elite crewmen. If it used nothing but Detron crewmen, I think the excavator would be destroyed very quickly. Let's pop that in there. Let's destroy him, kill him off. I'm not really super worried about the Ospreys, if you might have noticed. I'm more worrying about the crewmen and the Moas because they tend to do more damage. The Ospreys don't really do a lot of damage. They tend to be more support figures for the Moas. Moas in particular do a lot of damage at long range compared to a lot of the other units. Come on, get him down. There we go. Burn through him. Oh, they've actually burned through our iron skin there. We actually managed to keep that excavator alive through all that, so that kind of shows that the Corpus aren't as good at killing our excavators as the Grineer are. Might actually get lucky and be able to pop this next one as well if we're on top of it. Those Grineer just do such damage at range with their even the basic Grineer, the Lancers, thanks to their innate slash damage. Slash damage, of course, ignores armor, shields, and other things, which all around is bad news for us. Should we activate this other one? We could activate the other excavator, but I don't think that's necessarily in our best interest. I think focusing on one might be a better choice this time around, just because we might be able to keep it alive. Love some energy so we could activate Iron Skin again, but I don't think we're going to get it right away. Nope. We got a Moa attacking it.
The excavator has run out of power.
Get out of here, Moa.
Find a cell.
Get out of my face. Thankfully those crewmen, even the elite ones, just go down like very easily. I think the elite crewmen are actually kind of pathetic in general compared to, say, the elite Lancers take a lot more damage than normal Lancers. You'd think the elite crewmen would be more effective than just standard Moas, but even standard Moas tend to beat elite crewmen. Let's get this power carrier. We'll get his cell and should be able to keep it alive for a little bit longer there. I don't know if this one's gonna survive all the way through. It is taking some fire. Ooh, we just got enough energy for some iron skin. Fantastic. So now we're not afraid of dying. We should be able to keep our excavator alive just a little bit longer. Hoping we see a power carrier at some point. Doesn't look like we're gonna though. Oh, they're bringing out fusion moas. Annoying things. Shockwave moas are not necessarily the most dangerous. Normal moas actually, I think, are probably more dangerous than shockwave. Shockwave moas have very low life. They can knock you down at an unfortunate time, but that's about as dangerous as they can be. Well,
Excavator destroyed. Protect the
we might have had better luck with that one if we had gotten more power carriers. But we just didn't get enough power carriers. We got kind of lucky on that previous one with like the 4 or 5 power carriers that all came at once. We were able to keep the shields going pretty easily.
Excavator deployed.
Got this excavator going. Do we want to potentially pop the next one?
The scanner has picked up a target.
I think we're okay with
Go
this.
to the dig site.
If we can get one power carrier, we should be able to have what we need on this excavator.
We need another power cell for the excavator.
Let's see. I heard a moa up here, I think. There's a moa right here. Gotta be on top of these guys. Ooh, railgun moas do a lot of damage at range. Oh, I think we're gonna lose this one. Yeah, it's already taken too much damage. That's a shame. Let's start heading towards the next one. I think we're gonna need it. Yep.
Excavator destroyed.
Barely got anything out of that excavator. What a shame. So now we're getting a lot of moas coming at us. We're really starting to struggle here, keeping them alive, because those moas do a decent amount of damage at range. I don't actually know what's more damaging, the moas or Grenier, but it's very close between the two.
An artifact has been located. Proceed to the dig site.
I don't think there's more than 2 ways they can come from here. They can either come up this little like ramp-like area, or they can come out of this area here. Pretty sure that's the only places they can spawn, so we might be able to cut them off handily. I'm hoping anyway. We still need some power carriers. Oh, I don't know if I've talked about it yet, but these containers did get updated. And that's the new look that they've got. I don't know if I like it that much. It's not bad or anything, but I think the previous look was more useful. You can more easily tell whether or not it was open or closed. Now, it's not necessarily that much worse, because all you do have to look for is the light, but everything could always be better. Alright, dealt with those guys. Finally a power carrier. Might actually get what we need out of this guy here. Oh, and a nullifier as well. Fantastic. Just what we didn't need. Okay, so we got enough power to get it up to about 30%. That should be good enough. Let's try and deal with this nullifier, because these nullifiers are a monstrous nightmare for Rhino if he accidentally get locked in one of their bubbles. Dealt with him. Should be able to deal with this power carrier as well. And if we can get over to it before it dies, we can activate that. Fusion Moa's their beam laser. I don't think it's actually all that strong. Same with the Elite Crewman. I don't believe it's that like damaging. So I don't think that those are like priority. Honestly, standard Moas will probably take more priority than defense-like missions than those fusion Moas. And while the shockwave Moas do not do a massive amount of damage, they do have the standard Moa as a weapon, so if you just let them hit something, they will do an okay amount of damage to it. Ooh, we've got a Corpus Tech. Their weapon, the Supra, is actually very strong. Should never let them freely attack anything if you're able to. They actually do a lot of damage.
Extraction is available.
There we go.
If you choose.
Showing off that our Corpus buddies here are worse at dealing with these defense objectives than anything else. You can kind of see that Grineer tend to be very much more damaging, or damage focused, than the Corpus are. Which kind of makes you wonder, because you've got things like the nullifiers for the Corpus, so they're very defensive, but at the same time they also focus mostly on shields, which, as stated previously, at higher levels is kind of easy to deal with, so could just be poor scaling that kind of comes back to bite them. Corpus are definitely not very tough at higher levels, though that doesn't include the new Earth enemies. A lot of the new Earth enemies, or not Earth, but Fortuna enemies, a lot of the new Fortuna enemies tend to scare very well. They can be very damaging at high levels, so much so that you could very easily get one shot by a Corpus with an Arca or an Opticore from across the map, and it's just ridiculous. Didn't even see him and he's just dead all of a sudden. Very annoying when you're just riding your K drive. Alright. That completes that
The
segment for
final
Limbo.
part. I cannot wait. What harrowing leaps of cross-dimensional gymnastics will he attempt next?
Once we build this final piece... Oh, we need an Argon Crystal for that. Okay. Well, you definitely have all the parts for it. The Argon Crystal, of course, is just something you can get from the Void at a somewhat low drop chance, but we'll probably just go into Teshub and run that a couple of times. I'll do that in between parts, so you don't have to see it. Effectively, I'm just going to start the build for that final part. Let's just move on. We're going to go to Thebe and then Themisto. Thebe ought to be relatively easy for us. Themisto, of course, is the Alid V boss fight. We're going to do that with a group. Hopefully it'll be far easier. I'm sure a lot of people are farming Alid V just because he drops Warframe parts and other things. And he's also very good for farming neural sensors. So let's just head forward.
Is the system mainframe. Deliver the payload.
Okay, so of course Jupiter, I've talked about this tile set before. I did not, however, talk about the fact that this is one of my favorite tile sets, just because of how clean it is. I like the fact that it's not like, a lot of Warframe tile sets tend to be rather dirty looking or kind of messy in their architecture. Usually these Jupiter ones are okay. I think I went the wrong direction though, which is why I am completely lost and my waypoint is not helping me in the slightest. There we go. Waypoint should have moved to where I needed it to be at this point, but it has not yet. Typically, of course, it would go to elevators and things that you need to go on, but I guess we're just going to have to search for it ourselves. It seems more like a glitch than anything else.
Your target is this location's computer system. Find and access the terminals.
Okay, so it's below us just a little bit. In here, it seems. I like the Jupiter system, of course, because of all the lava. It's kind of cool.
Watch out for enemy patrols.
There's also a lot of very interesting
We're looking for the mainframe. It's critical that you deliver the
kind
payload
of
to that
architecture
location.
and utilities that you can use in these maps. There's lots of elevators, there's lots of interesting stuff. There's also like air vents and things like that, which actually kind of make it interesting to traverse. There's also areas like this one, which if you're good with your movement system, you can get around much quicker. Newer players might have a little bit just trouble with it, but coming back to it after
That's the reactor.
kind of getting
Expose
used to the
its
movement
core
system
and
is,
destroy it.
it shows off how fun Warframe can kind of be if you know what you're doing.
That's it.
All
Now
right.
get out of here.
Easy as can be, sabotage is never that slow of a process, so you just rush through it. And get across here. Oh, dang it. I kind of went right off the railing there. Had to cycle through. And we also lost our iron skin. It's kind of annoying. just minorly though. So you can go up these little lifts here. I kind of find going around the outer staircase there to be a little bit quicker. Of that specific tile. That tile is kind of a weird one. Usually you don't see it all that often though. There's the little air vents that go up and down, and then there's the staircase that goes around the outside. The staircase tends to be quicker if you're bullet jumping. Those little air vents are necessarily the worst way to go. Alright, completed that. We'll go fight Alad V, or as the community likes to call him, Salad V. His mechanic is pretty simple.
I cannot wait. What harrowing leaps of cross-dimensional
He's got a
gymnastics will he attempt next?
robot with him, of course, as a corpus. Kind of, I don't remember what they call them, board members, I believe is what they're referred to as.
We'll fix that for you.
So the basic principle is that corpus are, of course, very money-grubbing, similar to like a cult. And Alad V is no difference there. There's no difference between Alad V and any other corpus there. It's all about profit for them, regardless of what that means. A lot of times, that means pretty much killing everybody else.
Find them and take them out.
But would kind of get in their way.
To make Alad V's abomination. There will be no stopping the corpus if Zanuka is mass-produced. You are here to make sure that doesn't happen. Keep moving. None of the scanners have detected you.
So the story behind Alad V, of course, or Salad V, is that is basic. The reason we're going after him in particular rather than any of the other major corpus is because of the fact that he decided one of the greatest places to profit from would be Tenno. So he's taken it upon himself to deconstruct Warframes and turn them into these horrible abominations, which are referred to as the Zanuka Project. They're very similar to hyenas, of course, but a little bit different in the way that they can use Warframe abilities. So they are quite dangerous.
And now, let me show you the future! Zanuka! Kill!
So the major points of this boss fight, of course, are you've got Zanuka and Alad V. You need to focus on Zanuka first.
You must make sure not to damage all those parts of yours.
And then you can focus on good old buddy Alad here.
Time to go to work.
I think we can focus on him actually now. So I'm gonna try and do a lot of damage to him. We're gonna see what's gonna go on here. I know that there's a point when he goes invincible and you have to focus on Zanuka. That much I do remember. We're gonna focus on him. If we can just get him down enough. Alright, so he's kind of swapped here. Typically you would have to actually kill Zanuka at some point, but I don't think we're going to have to worry about that here.
Zanuka! Do not touch her! Zanuka is your future, your destiny. You are obsolete. Make way for the next generation.
Ah, so that's what it is. You focus on Alad V. Alad V will then be helped up by Zanuka, and while Zanuka is helping Alad V up, you can do massive damage to Zanuka. So currently Zanuka doesn't take a lot of damage. You could kind of see that previously. I wasn't doing more than like 16 damage even with my Heck. My Heck is still pretty okay damage-wise. There's definitely some pretty damaging abilities going out here, so just kind of keep on your toes. Once Alad V is down, take on Zanuka. Zanuka does have to be killed for Alad V to go down finally, but Zanuka just has ridiculous amounts of shield and health. So if we can get
Thousand suns!
there we go.
Now play Nice channel. Zanuka is one of you. Actually, come to think of it, Zanuka is many of you.
And there we are. So, take down LV enough times, and he's done. This boss fight can be ridiculously
Nice work
quick.
taking down the VIP. Now get to
With
the
higher level weapons, you can take him down very, very fast. You don't have to deal with the invincibility phases, really. You can almost one-shot him.
Doors are locked. Time to break in. They've brought in reinforcements.
Overall, that
Up
fight
full
was
set.
far harder than it needed to be, just because of the fact that we didn't have like very damaging weapons. Our heck is good, but not as good as it could be if it was modded better.
Breach complete. We're free to proceed.
And now we can leave, though. Progress to the junction, of course, and get out of here. Move on to the next planet, and we'll be able to unlock more as we go along.
Target down. Assassination contract complete.
So,
Great work, Tano.
now we've defeated LV. You could, of course, fight him more times to get more pieces of Valkyr. Valkyr is the Warframe that you get from LV. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. You also, like I said previously, have a high chance of getting neural sensors, so if you have very damaging weapons, you can go at them, do a lot of damage, and then it's not such a big issue.
The final part. I cannot wait. What harrowing leaps
Alright.
of cross-dimensional gymnastics will
You
he
got a
attempt
message?
next?
Okay. Alright, well, the Stalker's back on us after defeating LV, but that's no major issue for us. Let's do the junction real quick. We'll complete this junction. We get 1,000 credits and the Penta blueprint. Okay. Penta's not a great weapon. It's an explosive weapon. More likely to kind of just use it and then never worry about it ever again, but use it all out regularly just because of the weird physics that it has.
How dare you enter my home? I walk the realm with my shadow light.
So this time around we'll be fighting the Ember Spectre. Ember is a DPS focused frame, so we should be able to handle her relatively easily thanks to Iron Skin, but we'll have to see. Let's get in there. So she does a lot of damage if you're up close to her and like this. I would not probably do what I'm doing if you had a more squishy frame. Probably be a better idea to kind of stay back and focus on not being up in her face. But with Iron Skin we don't have to worry about any damage that she'd really do to us. And we can also just kind of keep stunning her with Stomp, thanks to the energy regen of these junctions. Come on, Ember, just fall down already. It's kind of sad she, like, is trying to do damage here, but yeah. Ember is actually a very good frame. That was not a very good showcase of her. Does show that Rhino's kind of silly, but that's about it. Now with this unlocked, we can move on to Saturn. That looks pretty cool, I gotta admit. I don't know if they've updated that graphic recently, but I don't remember it looking exactly like that. And with that, I think we kind of close out this episode.
I cannot wait. What harrowing leaps of cross-dimensional gymnastics will
Not
he attempt next?
much else we need to worry about. We're just going to go across to the Uranus junction. So we need to open 3 Meso relics, defeat Sargus Rock, should be easy, craft an Orokin Derelict key from the market. Okay, so we'll have to purchase an Orokin Derelict key. I can show off that mechanic. The Orokin Derelict is kind of interesting. Don't think we have to worry about anything else majorly. The Orokin Derelict is an area that you can go to at pretty much at any point once you craft the keys for it. You can see the different missions that you can do right here. We'll purchase a key and worry about that next time though. In between parts, of course, I'm just going to grab an Argon Crystal and help us finish that Limbo part. But until then, goodbye.